May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Please be seated. After turning 50 last fall, I find myself more inclined to be clicking over to the health page of the New York Times. I'm in good health, but I begin to sort of wonder about what the next years and decades may have, and so I'm fascinated by supplements or vitamins or a diet that may have some ability to ward off dementia. I'm interested in articles about how to exercise with bum knees and how to take care of yourself as you continue to age. I wasn't concerned about this just a few years ago. Maybe some of you find yourself in the same boat. So I heard with interest yesterday morning a story on NPR about a study that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association on Friday. They followed 7,000 adults ages 51 through 61 for 5 years. At the beginning of the study, they gave them a psychological survey to try and identify, among other things, if the participants had a strong life purpose, which for the purposes of this study they defined as a self-organizing life aim that stimulates goal creation. And a number of questions to try and determine whether the participants had a strong life purpose. They followed the participants over the course of the study for 5 years, and they found that folks who did have a strong life purpose were less likely to die during the course of the study than those who didn't. And this held true despite whether the participants were rich or poor. It didn't seem to be correlated to their gender, to their race, to the level of education they had achieved. If you did not have a strong life purpose, you were in fact twice as likely to die during the course of the study than participants who did have a strong life purpose. In fact, this having a strong life purpose proved more important even than cutting down on drinking, cutting down on smoking, or exercising regularly. Now, I can confess that the sarcastic flip side of my brain immediately went to, so what if your strong life purpose is avoiding exercise or drinking? Several of the designers of the study said that they were very skeptical going in, but that the results were so strong, so convincing, that they are now creating more studies and doing more research in this area. One of the authors said that it seems that this is a basic psychological need, to have meaning and purpose in our lives. It may be that this is the deepest driver of well-being that there is. I am sort of cheered by this, I have to say, because I think having a strong life purpose is something that we all can create for ourselves, regardless of what stage of life we are at. It may be at one stage in life having our strong life purpose is raising a family. In another stage, it may be a work-related goal. In retirement, it may be trying to figure out how to use our time in a way that is useful, that is life-giving, that helps others. At every stage of our lives, we can figure out a strong life purpose, and it turns out that seems to not only increase our quality of life, but increase the length of it as well. I kept thinking about this yesterday as I thought about the man in the story we just heard from John's Gospel, this man who'd been sick for 38 years, which is John's way really of saying, given his context, that this man had been sick his entire life. Life expectancy then was probably 35 to 40 years. And so this man had been ill with whatever was afflicting him for his entire life. Jesus finds him around the pool of Bethesda, and there's a tradition surrounding this pool. The pool is just off the sheep gate in Jerusalem. The sheep gate is where animals who have been raised for slaughter during the religious rituals in the temple were brought into the city. I have to just say as an aside, for centuries, scholars thought that John made up this pool out of thin air because they found no proof of it in the city of Jerusalem as archaeologists were working to discover the old city. But in the 50s, an archaeologist did actually find a pool in this location. And so it seems that this was an actual place in Jesus' day. The pool was surrounded by 5 porticos, which are covered porches, and underneath those porches were all sorts of people with illness. People who were unable to walk, people unable to see, people with all sorts of afflictions. And the tradition, the understanding was that when the surface of the pool was rippled, when it looked like a breeze had blown over the surface of the pool, that meant that an angel had just descended and touched the surface of the pool. And if you could get yourself into the pool first, then you would be cured. So when Jesus asks this man, do you want to be healed? He is unable, for whatever reason, to give a simple, a yes or no answer to a simple yes or no question. Rather, he says, I have no one to help me get into the pool. And so when the surface is rippled and there's this mad dash to get down, other people get there before I do. I have no one to help me. Somehow, this man's purpose in life has been to find healing at this pool, which unfortunately he's never going to be able to find because he doesn't have people there to help him when he needs it. Jesus doesn't engage that issue, doesn't question the man further, doesn't say anything to the man other than, get up, take your mat, and go. And the man does. He's able to walk, he takes his mat, and he goes off for the rest of his, to live out the rest of his life. Now, this afternoon, if you want to see, there's a whole bunch of other things that happen with this man in the rest of chapter 5. You can open up your Bibles and check it out. And you're going to wonder why Jesus chose this particular guy, because he does not behave in a way that we might expect someone to behave. He does not behave out of gratitude for what Jesus has done for him. But I'll leave you all to discover that yourselves later today. For today, what I take from this story is that so many of us are sitting on our mats around pools waiting for something to happen. That is not going to happen for us. That we have not figured out a purpose in our life, a strong meaning, a strong purpose to shape our lives. And so instead we're sitting on our mats trapped in patterns of relating with those around us, patterns of relating with those even who are closest to us, our family members, those we love, responding in frustration and in shortness, and instead of in a life-giving way. We're stuck in a vision of the past. We're stuck in an attempt to recreate the past that's never coming back, but a past when we think life was better than it is now. We're stuck in patterns of addictions, whether that's addictions to alcohol or drugs or to money or safety or to friendships that are not serving us, that are not life-giving, that are dragging us down, that are keeping us on our mats by the side of that pool. I think this story invites us to think about how we can create for ourselves a strong life purpose that allows us to get up and take our mats and get on with it. Jesus says to you, he says to me, he says to the man all those hundreds of years ago, get up and take your mat and go. Just because we've been sitting there for all these years waiting for something to happen doesn't mean that we have to continue sitting there. There are other options in this life. I pray this afternoon, this week, this beautiful day, that you will reflect on your life, what your strong purpose is. That you will find a strong purpose in this life. Maybe there are people around you sitting on their mats that you can help. Maybe there are other ways that you can help bring about God's kingdom in the here and now, bring about God's kingdom today. Maybe there are other ways that you can bring some life to your little corner of the world. Get up, take your mat,